I know what you're thinking. I've already seen Dragon Ball Z a bunch of times. I've even seen it in Japanese, so there's no need for me to watch Dragon Ball Kai. Well, actually, there might be. On this video, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why, even if you've seen Dragon Ball Z before, why you should at least try to watch Dragon Ball Kai.
Lord Frieza demands that you subscribe to this channel and follow Mr. Geekdom on these social media platforms.
April of 2009 brought us a new, redone, recut, reanimated, somewhat, revisioning of Dragon Ball Z called Dragon Ball Kai, and soon after it was dubbed and renamed internationally Dragon Ball Z Kai, and a lot of Dragon Ball Z fans resented Kai. Well, I did a video already called 10 Misconceptions About Dragon Ball Kai, which you should all check out, but that's not what we're talking about here. On this video, we're going to talk about 5 reasons why you should try Dragon Ball Kai even if you've seen Dragon Ball Z. And joining me on this video, somebody who has a huge affection for Kai, who was also on that video. Please welcome from Space Australia, Super Jaiyan.
Great to be here. Always love doing videos with the Big D.
Yes, thank you. And of course, go check out Super Jaiyan's channel. All kinds of very intelligent content, and I promise you, if you go through his video archives, you will learn something without question. And one thing that people will learn quickly from watching your videos is how much you love Kai. And Kai is your preferred way of watching the series for the most part?
I would say so. Yeah, I mean, I go through phases, to be honest. You can almost call me a bipolar fan. I'll go through phases where I'll be like, nah, Japanese dub, and then I'll be through phases where I just want to watch Kai. It really depends on the mood I'm in, but when I'm watching it in English, without question, it's always going to be Dragon Ball Kai for a number of reasons.
Which we're going to get to right now. All right, let's go ahead and go into number 5. The number 5 reason why you should watch Dragon Ball Kai is because it is a legitimate HD upgrade. Now, what I mean by that is this. With Dragon Ball Kai, both the Blu-rays you buy here or if you import them from Japan, it is a legitimate 1080p version of the show, up-converted and reshot from the original masters. This is not like what Funimation did with the season sets, where they took their SVHSs and ran through a filtering process. That's not what Kai is. Kai is a legitimate HD upgrade, which is why it looks so good. I mean, even though the Dragon Boxes are the ideal way to watch Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Kai provides a cleaned up, legitimate high definition version where they actually went in frame by frame and not only reframed the shots, but also cleaned up all the dirt.
Yeah, the best thing I would add to that too is one of the best features about the Dragon Boxes is the film grain, and there still is film grain in Kai, but they seem to have cleaned up a lot of the film grain that really doesn't need to be there. It's a bit jarring sometimes when they go between the new animated scenes and the old animated scenes, but when it's sticking to the old animated footage, it almost feels like that is the most pure way to look at the series and watch the series.
Yes, I would say the colors and the shading in Kai are incredible. I mean, once you pop in a Kai Blu-ray, you'll see the difference right away. So check it out for that. Number 4 is the different music. Now, some of you watching this video grew up with the Bruce Faulconer score, and some grew up with the Kikuchi score when you watched Dragon Ball Z. Well, Kai has a little bit of a complicated story with Kenji Yamamoto and his plagiarism scandal. So depending on what version you have, you're going to get different background music. You're going to get Yamamoto score if you have one of the older Kai releases, or if you get one of the newer ones, you're going to get the Kikuchi score, but with different music placements. Well, that's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the fact that with Kai, you have a new intro and outro, which is also reanimated, and you have brand new insert songs, like, of course, the infamous Ginyu Force Rules.
Yeah, you also have Saya Power, which is one of my favorites, and that is something that is used when Vegeta is powering up against Frieza. And one of my other favorites, I don't know the name of it, but it was played in the original Z as well at some stage, if I'm not mistaken, was the music that played when Frieza impaled Krillin. That was really cool.
And the beautiful thing about it is that if you watch it dubbed, you get the English translations of these songs, sung by Vic Mignogna for the most part. So there you go. And that actually goes into my number 3, which is with Kai, you get a better English dub. Now, I know a lot of people have a hard time letting go of Linda Young, and actually, that one's not really a big one. The one that people have trouble letting go of is Stephanie Nadolny as Gohan, because she's been replaced by Colleen Clinkenbeard in this version. Well, understand that even if you prefer Nadolny, you do have a right to your opinion, that's fine, but that's not even so much what I'm talking about. Put that aside for a second. The script in Dragon Ball Kai is much more accurate. There's borderline profanity in the uncut version of Kai. You have characters saying hell, damn, constantly. Constant profanity. The vocal performances from the main cast, like Chris Sabat, Sean Schemmel, are much better because they're much more experienced in Kai, and there's also more distribution amongst voices. So Sabat's not voicing a million people like before. He's just primarily voicing Vegeta and Piccolo, and both their voices sound very much different. The characters in Kai are much more accurate to the original vision from the original Japanese version and manga. What do you have to add to that one, Jay?
Yeah, it's just much more of a professional dub. It's much more rounded with the different diversity of the voices that you have to choose from,
Way
or they
less
had to
script
choose
changes.
from.
Way
Yeah,
less script
way
changes.
less script changes. And to add to like hell and damn, there's also you're really pissing me off, bastard. Like those words are in there as well.
Yes.
And just the Namek arc and the artificial or androids arc, artificial humans or android arc is where the voice cast for me really comes into its own. The reason I say that is because pretty much everyone is replaced in certain way or another in those two arcs, and you don't even really notice it, to be perfectly honest, sometimes, in terms of the voices are similar enough to the original Funimation dub, but they also sound different. If you do love the original dub, that's fantastic, but you have to put your bias aside. Like, you almost need to just give Kai a fresh start.
And the ones that came back from Z, like Schemmel, Vale, Sabat, are seasoned veterans at this point, and they understand their characters significantly better. It is just a better dub. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if people have an issue accepting this, but it's reality. It is a better dub. It's just better. And even the people who have worked on the show themselves have said it. I just want to say about Dragon Ball Z and whatnot. The Z dub was heavily censored, even on the home releases. This Kai dub comes off much more adult.
Yeah.
It's worth a try. It really is. And of course, Chris Ayres' legendary performance as Frieza, much, much more accurate to the original vision of what Frieza was, even in the manga. Number 2, no bad filler arc. So if you're sitting there and you're not a fan of the fake Namek, if you're not a fan of the Garlic Jr. saga, I know a lot of people like PyCon, but that was also not in the manga. A lot of that stuff was cut, and a lot of the in-between filler was shaved down significantly. Even though I like a lot of the filler, in this version, it's not a direct manga, panel by panel cut, because that's not really possible, and things like Gregory that you can't really remove are still there. It's still much, you don't have to worry about Garlic Jr. at all. You can actually watch it start to finish and get a more clear representation of what the series was intended to be, even though it's not perfect because there's things like Gregory and Hell and things like that. Nonetheless, it's still a more accurate representation.
Yeah, and if you are a fan of the filler, there's still a lot of great filler in Kai, and your point that you brought up is basically that the in-between filler arcs are just significantly shaved down. So everything that's in the manga is obviously there, but they also kept filler in that they felt was relevant to the anime. Because you have to understand, the anime still has to be different to the manga. You can't just adapt a manga straight to the screen. You have to, otherwise it would be over way too quickly. So they still leave a lot of stuff in Kai that probably shouldn't be there. But the thing is, you have it wrapping up so much quicker and it just flows a lot better.
Well, let's get to it right now, man. That's our number one. Number one is the pacing. So a lot of people complain that Dragon Ball Z was way too slow. They call it Dragon Ball Z, specifically when you get to the Frieza arc, because I feel like the Frieza fight is way, way, way too long in Dragon Ball Z, especially the 5-minute portion. But in Kai, it's much closer to the manga. What is 10 episodes in Z gets cut down to about 6 or so, maybe 5 in Kai, and that goes for the entire series. Dragon Ball Kai is, I believe, 159 episodes or 169, whereas Z is 291 in total, and that's a huge chunk of stuff that was cut out.
Yeah. And you might find that some of the filler you do love is gone, such as some of the filler I personally really love is the flashbacks with Frieza and King Vegeta. I feel like that's world building, and it's good world building. I really, really enjoy it. So there is an argument to be made for that not being there, and I will absolutely understand that because I don't think that can really be argued. But the stuff that just shouldn't be there, like the fake Namek arc, or some of the stuff that was there. To be perfectly honest with you, it just feels like it flows a lot better, and you won't notice. I would say that 60 to 70% of the filler is gone. 60 to 70%, that's a guess, but I would guess that about 60 to 70% of the filler you won't even notice is gone because of how well the show is directed and how well it flows.
Yeah, which was probably a challenge when they were first making it because it's tricky because they actually had to cut the fights down, speed them up a little bit to make it just kind of flow better. So I can't imagine the kind of headaches they ran into when they were first doing this. So those are the top 5 reasons as to why you should try Dragon Ball Kai or Dragon Ball Z Kai. Let me know down in the comment section if I missed anything, and hopefully a lot of people will give it a shot. If you're looking to rewatch Dragon Ball Z, you haven't seen it in a while, and you don't want to sit through 291 episodes, almost 300 episodes, you can do about half of that with Kai and still get the entire story. Of course, as of this video, the Buu Saga dub has not been released yet. But once it does get released, I'm sure those of you out there who are collecting Kai will go ahead and complete it. And hopefully by then, if you're watching Kai, it'll be out before you get to that part, and then you just keep going from there.
Yeah.
And of course, thanks, Jay, for being here.
Not a problem. Always great to be on the channel. And yeah, I would love the Buu arc soon.
All right. Catch you down the road.